Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Bush League Huddle podcast. How's everybody doing today? We got a very guys. This is we're in it right now. We're in the thick of it right now. We are starting hot with some division previews because the season is like it's right around the corner. I saw Scott Hansen's tweets talking about like it's 10 Sundays away or something like that. Like it's final countdown. Like we're here, and like the summer passed by really quick. Training camp hasn't officially started yet. I think it's still summer break for a lot of teams, for all the teams, I think, for a few more weeks. But still, we're going to start rolling with some division previews. And we got a special guest on the pod this episode. We got our boy Sosa for Fantasy Sports University. Sosa, what's up, man? How you doing?
How are you? How's everything? Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful, and the U is very thankful. So excited for the season. We're very
Yeah,
excited.
the U.
Amazing.
Yes. So tell us about your page a little bit.
I don't know. I think the page is based off just like me. You know what I mean? I like a little bit of everything. I'm focused on. I'm a numbers type of guy. I'm highly on the strength of schedules and you know. I love rookies. I like, if you understand how this fantasy football thing goes, you got to have a balanced team, and these are the guys that get you at the end. So I'm very into like I'm looking at what deodorant they use. I'm into so it's just you know the bigger the pool, I'm always for it. So I guess that's how my page is. I do comedy. I try to do like a little funny, a little bit of this. I try to break down to people. I'm into cards, like sports cards and stuff like that. So I don't know, like I try to re-image that on the page too. I just try to do a little bit of everything. I don't want to overwhelm, but I'm just like kind of new to TikTok thing situation too. So it's like I'm just like whatever every day I want to post. So I'm trying to take it a day by day, but as for the fantasy, I think I want to just also give my perspective and see how I see it. And sometimes it's good because then you meet other people like you guys, and you kind of see what they're doing, how they're doing. You know what I mean? It helps me out. You know what I mean? It's like a cheat code.
There it is.
For sure.
There it is.
Amazing.
Yeah, your page is fire, man. Honestly, I was going through a lot of your stuff, a lot of your content, like super,
Thank you.
like really fun stuff, just like you were saying. But you got some good insights too, which is obviously a reason why you're on the pod, right? So we're going to be getting a little bit of your 2 cents on AFC East. I know you're a bit of a Jets fan, but so guys, before we jump into it, give
My
Sosa a follow
condolences.
on Fantasy Sports University. You can find him on
Yes,
TikTok.
please. The U is always welcome. We give
There it is.
scholarships. We
There
do
it
it
is.
all. Trust me. Lunch
There it is.
ladies.
NIL.
NIL. Oh,
NIL.
NIL. So we're talking to NIL. Okay.
Well, and while you're following Fantasy Sports University on TikTok, don't forget to find us on all your social medias, on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on YouTube, on TikTok as well, on Instagram. Find us all wherever you look for the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. We'll be there. We interact with our fans, so please don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe to our stuff, to Sosa's stuff, and we're going to get right into it right now. So we're previewing the AFC East for this week. We're going to start off with, I think this is Nacc's favorite team. I want to say it's the Miami Dolphins, right? Is that fair to say? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Miami Dolphins last year, they finished 8-9. A bit of a lackluster season following the season before, I would say. We're going to go some 2024 stats real quick. So they finished 15th in passing yards per game, about 220 yards per game. Rushing yards, they were ranked 21st, 106 yards per game. As far as the draft was concerned, this year, excuse me, as far as that round, they picked up an offensive guard because they did have a little bit of a shuffling of an O line during the offseason. They drafted Ollie Gordon as a running back in
You're
round
not gonna
6.
say his name, Fab. You're not gonna say the offensive lineman's name. You're gonna
Jonaya,
try.
I can do it. Yeah, sure, no problem. Jonah Savananea,
Not bad.
not bad, not
Not
bad.
bad.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Pretty
So
good.
there's a running joke that I can't pronounce like anything
Yo,
when it
me
comes.
and
So
you, I might call somebody a different name, but I got you.
yeah. So whenever I get a Samoan name, it's always a lot of fun to pronounce.
Just say Oos.
Us. Uso. That's brother in Samoan. I have one there. Anyways, round 7, they did pick Quinn Ewers.
Wow.
See, this is horrible.
That was an easy
we're off to a
one.
banging start. We're a professional podcast. Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. So I'm gonna pass this over to you, Nacc, right now. Out of those draft picks, is there anyone that's really something to you that you're looking into right now for next year? I think it's all developmental, but I do want to get your 2 cents.
Yeah, it's things you said it right. I think it's more developmental. Nothing really comes off the page in a for a fantasy perspective. Like Quinn Ewers, seventh round pick. They also have Zach Wilson there, so he's probably going to be carrying a clipboard for the majority of the season. He could see himself in the backup role when Tua does eventually get injured. So he'll probably get a helmet on game day for a little part of the season. But yeah, I mean, rookie wise, there's not much to be, I mean, excited for. I guess fantasy football wise,
The Savanea pick to me shows that they're going to try to be tougher on the trenches, like taking a big dominant guard
they need
in the
to.
second round. I think we're going to see a lot of Devon Achane and Jalen Wright this year. I think that everyone knows that the Dolphins are soft, quote unquote, and I think they're trying to get away from kind of that perception. And drafting a big guard means I think they're going to try to dominate the line of scrimmage. I think it bodes well for Achane and Wright.
I mean,
Well,
it bodes well for Tua also, right? To kind of keep him upright,
Yes,
avoid taking as many hits as he does.
totally.
yeah, the judo classes can only take you so far. Sosa, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
On the Dolphins, I think what was like the year before, like Tua went off like for 4,000 yards, and I think Waddle when they were healthy, right? I think that this year they don't got nothing really to play for. You know, we all know Tua's situation. You know, God willing, he stays healthy this season. I'm a big Bama fan, so I'm for him. But if they're healthy, they're gonna gun it. You know, either they're running it, they're gonna. I think that I think maybe Mike McDaniel's might be out this year if he doesn't have a good season. You know, they do have a pretty good, easy schedule. You know, they just, maybe I think the beginning games are for them are just a little bit tricky. But with the division, I'm a big Jets fan. If they can get one out of two, Patriots, they look good on paper. They get those two, they could play around. So I'm all for the. I'm very high on Waddle. You know what I mean? I want to see him do well. I like Ollie Gordon and
Yeah.
Yeah,
right too. I would like to see them. Adrian is like top. You know what I mean? Everybody's gonna take him. You know what I mean? But if you're betting on Sundays, that's great for the anytime touchdown. But in the fantasy thing, I think those two guys are kind of like sleepers. Maybe at the playoffs when you kind of need it, depending on what's happening at the end of the year. You know?
So Achan with Tua, I think I saw on PFF,
yeah.
he was 22 and a half points, fantasy points per game. With Tua, he's fantastic because Tua sees the check down. Without Tua, I think he goes down to like something like 10 to 12 fantasy points per game. So
The whole
he's
team.
attached to Tua in terms of
What
his
the whole
fantasy
team is
success.
shit. When there's no Tua, you don't even want to watch
The
the
entire
game.
team. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Watch the
I think
game.
the whole like, well, look what happened with Tyreek. Look what happened with Waddle. As soon as Tua wasn't there, completely shut down.
I'll give you a sleeper though. I will give you a sleeper. I think the Dolphins defense is something to watch this year.
Hmm.
If you look at them the last few years, right? Always the first game they lose the main guy. There's always like one guy, the linebacker gets hurt, or somebody's on that team is hurt.
Chubb
I like
last year, right? Did they lose Chubb early?
they didn't have Chubb, and
Yeah,
I
they didn't
think
have
they
Chubb. Yeah.
lost another like high motor guy. And
Yeah.
I think honestly, with Fitzpatrick back there, him and Ramsey on the same level. Okay, cool. But then if everybody's healthy, I believe last few seasons when their defense was up there, they were at least like top 15. I give them that. So if
Yeah.
they're
So
healthy this season, I would say that that's somebody like that's a like very good fantasy thing to
Hmm.
watch, And nobody's gonna be high on Miami Dolphins, you know what I mean?
yeah, so I like to segue into the defense for a second because they lost Javon Holland, right? In the so in free agency he went to the Giants, and I guess they sort of replaced him a little bit there with Fitzpatrick, but they're missing cornerback help, right? I mean, I don't think their corners are middle of the pack there, so they could be thrown on. I think their defense is good. I don't know if it's sleeper pick though.
They're not bad on I think their O lines their D line is not that bad. With
Yeah, their D
Chubb,
line is nice. Yeah,
when he's healthy, that whole they really command. And like I said, it's just like you can't really these guys come in the CBs, the fresh ones, in a good system. You know what I mean? You can expect, and I'm pretty sure this year. I just think somebody's gonna step up. Guys want to make money. The NFL's different now, so I kind of look at that defense like they have nothing else to play for. I'm telling you right now. You know,
So I gotta push back on the Jalen Waddle love. I think Nacc and I feel like we're typically on the same boat where I just haven't seen it from Waddle, and like the talent is there, but he was in that like of all like the WR2s like Waddle and Devontae Smith, T Higgins. There was a point where it felt like he was the best of the bunch. Now it's to me it's firmly that he is the least probably third or not fourth of that like WR2. I'm curious as to why you're so high on him because he's also very injury prone as well.
I think you're suffering from one thing. Have you had him on your fantasy team?
Yes, that's a great call.
You had him or
he
Hill.
just he
Either
just
you had
called
him or
that. He
Hill,
just
right?
called that.
You had Hill one season. He started off great. Didn't probably play at the end of the year, or the Tua situation, so their
Yeah.
numbers decline. This is what I'm saying. If he's there in the draft, and it's possible, and you're gonna say, hey, it's an extra guy, maybe I'm taking him. I'm taking him in the draft. I'm not gonna take him if I see maybe certain guys, but I would say he's a good sleeper this year because everybody's on the same boat as everybody. They've had him before, and they're tired of it. They don't want to see it anymore. But you can't get hurt every season. You gotta give or take 1 or 2 years. Look at Mike Williams. You might get that. This might be his Mike Williams year, where he bursts out and he goes off. And I'm just gonna say this: you don't want him to go off, and you don't have him on your team. Just want to throw that out there. All right, so just think twice.
I
And
see.
just
At WR28, which typically has been closer to the late teens, I think I like that value a bit more. Um, you might have changed my mind. Maybe we'll see. We'll see
it
come draft
depends
time.
where you draft. If you're in the high top or the bottom top. I like the bottom top, and I think you can get a lot of value with him. People are gonna pass on him this year. Trust me. He spoke about it. I bet you put a poll on him. They're not drafting him. Great guy. Like I said, they all gonna play for what they're playing for this year. They think this guy's gonna die on the field.
McDaniel's job. They're all playing
Yeah,
for McDaniel's
legit,
job.
Yep.
100%. 100%. But now let's talk about a little bit about the other wide receiver though that's on the Miami Dolphins that last year really, really, really didn't have a great season, right? He finished, I think, wide receiver 18, Tyreek Hill, Mr. What is that, 17 kids right now. So he needs to play for the alimony, as you said, Roger. It's a great call on that. The man is financially committed to having a good season this year. But apart from that, I think last year he battled a wrist injury for the majority of the season, plus Tua getting injured right now. So there is a little bit of a reason why he didn't have that good of a statistically solid season as we would expect. Right now, Tyreek Hill, he's going as wide receiver 16 ADP. He's actually dropping in ADP. I think he started off as around wide receiver 13. Now he's at 16. So he's going around the Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Mike Evans spot right there. I am cautiously optimistic on Tyreek Hill, especially at that value. Like, give him to me as a low end or mid tier wide receiver two, the guy that can get you 1,700 yards and 9 touchdowns and 100 receptions.
1,700.
That's not impossible.
Could
He's done it
could
before.
could could.
Could,
That's a
could. More
huge, huge
realistically, okay,
ask.
fine. That's the ceiling. Let's call it the ceiling. Let's bring him more down to like 1,400, which would still be wide receiver one numbers, and you're getting for wide receiver two value. So, like, Sosa, do you have the same level of optimism with Tyreek Hill as you do with Jalen Waddle? Because you seem to be all in on Jalen Waddle.
What round you said he was in?
So we're going by rankings. I don't have him in a
No,
round.
no,
Like
no.
he's
But what you said like what? You said Rasheed Rice and them?
Yeah, like he's going around the same time
That's
as
like fourth
Rasheed
round.
Rice.
That's like around fourth, fifth round, right?
Yeah.
I'm not taking him at that round. You know what I mean? I'm really I like him, and like I said, but Tyreek Hill is different, and I think what Tyreek Hill is different. Everybody's fast now. That fast stuff and running down the field, it doesn't work for everybody. So unless he tweaks up his game this year, maybe more of the like, running slots and getting more closer because they're playing him pretty well. They've been playing him pretty well. He hasn't been healthy. Um, I heard he was he saw Christ this year. You know, he's looking different with the kids and finally understood. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's like if he's not willing to make the sacrifice, which I think he has no choice to. No other teams want that contract. You're a leader, and even if you're being a leader and you want to go to a different team, no organization wants that. So I think in his perspective, he could have a pretty good year. I don't see the 17. I don't see the 15,000 yards. I see maybe not 100, and he'd be happy if he gets 1,000. You know what I mean? Well, I think he's going to kill it this year is in the receptions. You know what I mean? The targets. I think that's where he'll be heavy. He's going to get a crap load of targets. He's going to get the opportunity to do whatever he said he's doing. So if that's why I say maybe, when you're looking at him, you can't always, he'll get you a few yards, but he's going to get the targets. And then those targets turn into touchdowns. So I like him. Am I saying he's maybe fourth, fifth round? To me, that would say I would have to. He would have to be. I'm picking three running backs. I don't care. I don't care what draft I'm in. I don't care where I stand at. I'm getting three running backs first. So then my receivers. So that he would be one of my two receivers. I'm not taking him at then. If he's there at the seventh and eighth, which I doubt
Wow.
it,
The
but I'm
seventh and
taking.
eighth.
Dude, so you're fading him basically. That's what you're saying right now.
Yeah,
Like right now, he's being drafted as the 16th best wide receiver. So you're saying
I
he
That's
ain't
ask
too
you a
that.
high.
question
That's
right
too
now.
high. That's too
T.
high.
Higgins, you said his name. Rashee Rice, before Rashee Rice got hurt last year, I had him on my team. He was killing it. And gotta look at these new guys, Puka Nuka, you know what I mean? These are different guys coming in. The old school wide receivers, I'm sorry to call him old school, but he gotta change his game because if not, look at these young guys. There's a lot of guys this year that I think that got drafted that's gonna really be more what the league is gonna look like. You
Mm.
know, this is
It's a
a
fair point.
rich man's game now, so these players they don't care. Their jobs on the line, and they're gonna get the players that fit in their system. And with Hill's contract, he has to play anything. They tell him to run the ball at running back, he has to run the ball at running back this year.
Yeah, those are good points.
I
Actually, those are very good points.
I agree. We spoke about him last or 2 weeks ago with Tyreek Hill, and he's contingent on Tua, right? So you're essentially hitching your wagon to Tua, and we know that Tua's good to miss easily 4 games a year, right? And we saw what the production was. They weren't even throwing his way when Tua wasn't there. Granted, I guess the quarterback play was not great, but I think he's going too high, and I think it's the name recognition that kind of gets in the way. Also, you kind of see Tyreek Hill, and everyone kind of moves up their board. But me too. I'm kind of staying away. I mentioned it on last pod, and uh, if he comes in and dominates, then good on the person who went out and drafted and believed in him fantasy wise. But I don't know. It's year what? He's 31 also this year, getting older, had some injury trouble, and then you attach it to Tua injury history, and it's just a recipe for disaster for me. I just wide receiver 16. Give me Rasheed Rice, man. Give me who else did you name there? Mike Evans. I'm not. That'd be a close call
There
for
was
me, but
Devontae Adams, who I would definitely take over Tyreek Hill. There's Mike Evans, who I would take over
After
Tyreek
Godwin
Hill.
is there,
There's Godwin. Godwin's not that far
Godwin with the
behind. Godwin's
injury,
actually is
yeah,
more
Godwin is
towards
going to miss a bit
Jalen
of the
that's a
Waddle.
bit
year.
But
tough with the injury though.
I had
yeah,
Godwin,
I got to
I had
see the
Rashee
OT. I
Rice
got to see the
last year.
training
I got
camp for that.
faith in Godwin. Don't sleep on Godwin. He's gonna get the ball. Another one
Yeah,
to target. You know?
Yeah.
these are all very good points though. But Nacc, you hit on Tua. We'd be remiss if we talk about the Dolphins. I wouldn't mention Tua. Finished QB 23 last year. Again, injury prone, all that stuff. The guy, and I just want to keep this podcast honest. We're a two quarterback league, right? So we sometimes we try to prop up quarterbacks that other leagues wouldn't normally draft just because we start two and we have like another two on our bench, right? So Tua right now, he's going ADP. My God, he's far down the list. Where is he? I can't even see him. A quarterback 22. Eesh. Like that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Quarterback 22. He's a low end quarterback two right there. And there's even guys that I would take at that spot that are around there that I would rather have because they just have higher upside. I think Tua's floor is kind of solidified just because you know what you're going to get. The bad games are going to give you like 10, 12 points, and the really good games are going to be in the 20s. Like I would rather take a flyer on Bryce Young at that spot. I'd rather take a flyer on JJ McCarthy at that spot. the Dolphins' offense, and we've said this a lot, it runs like a well-oiled machine when Tua is there and when the seasons are very warm and when they're at home. Once you get into the nitty-gritty part of the season where they're playing some outdoor games in Buffalo, in New England, in New York, which, it kind of sucks for them to be in that division because if they get some away games during November, December, and January, you're going to be having some tough sledding if you have these guys on your fantasy team. It gives me a little bit of caution with Tua. I don't know, Raj. What do you think about that?
We said it. We talked about it in our Do Not Draft pod. Tua is too risky of a bet for me he's more of a QB3 for me, to be honest. And I don't want. He is a bona fide QB2 and 2 QB, but personally, I'm a bit more, I guess, risk averse with regards to that, and I wouldn't want to. Wouldn't want to put all my eggs in the Tua basket as a QB2. So if I have an opportunity, I have 2 QBs already that I'm very happy with. I'll gladly take him as a QB3, knowing that, as Nacc said, those 11 or 12 games that he does play, he'll have 19 touchdowns. He'll have a low amount of picks. He'll have a good amount of 260 yards per game, 101 QB rating. Those are literally his numbers from last year. But it's really hard to bank on him. He's really hard to trust on a 16, 17 game basis.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But one guy that we can't trust is that Devon Achane. Is he a top 5 guy right now? Are we go with him at RB7? How are we feeling about that?
He's good as long as Tua plays, like I said.
Yeah,
like
same
he's tethered to Tua, like no other running back is tethered to a QB. And it's a lot of splash plays with splash games with him. Like it's very high variance with him.
So basically, in conclusion, the Dolphins' offense is very volatile.
Exactly,
and it's tethered to an injury-prone quarterback, which is
very
not something
volatile.
you want to hear.
Yeah,
well said.
So quickly now, and then we're going to move on to our next team. So if we can just quickly, like a little bit of a prediction as to how they're going to finish on the season. So you said you're a little bit of a strength of schedule guy over there. I don't know. I'm not sure if the Miami
Right
get a
now with the
better.
easiest schedule. They have the 11th easiest schedule. Just want to throw this out there if y'all. I had to Google it real quick. 4,624 yards to or through healthy. That's the stuff where you have to really think about. Yeah, it's tough. I understand. Don't want it. He's already ranked. Look how low he's ranked there. People are overlooking him. If you're looking for value, I think two is all the value you need this year. Yeah, you can have him on the bench. You don't have to have him in the starting, two. But if I'm in a one quarterback league, 2, 3, 4, I'm gonna take Tua this year. Like I said, if you, I'm the, I've run into the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? And if he's coming in the season healthy, they telling me he's healthy. That's the dude. 20. Well, he threw 29 touchdowns. I can't give that up. That's tough right there. And with the 11th easiest schedule, it's like if they were reversed and they had like a real tough schedule this year, I'm overlooking it. I'm not even gonna look past. If I'm not mistaken, they play the Colts, they play the Jaguars, they play some easy teams this year. Some teams where they're gonna probably balance out, and if they either use those games to their advantage, I think Tua is the guy that sets this all off.
Yeah, so I
4,000.
guess we can pencil them down for about 8 wins, right? Assuming that's just making sure that, Tua might or might not be able to play, but let's just keep the ball rolling a little bit. We're going to go on to the Buffalo Bills right now. We got to we got to keep this train on the road. So Buffalo Bills last year finished with the 13-4 record, obviously first in the division, went pretty far in the playoffs. Finished ninth in passing yards, 227 yards per game, ninth in rushing yards, 131 per game. Josh Allen was the guy that was doing it all right there. From a draft pick perspective, nothing really popped off the page except for pick 169, round 5. We got Jackson Hayes, tight end out of Georgia Tech. Roger, I know you put that in there for a reason. Do you want to give some reasons as to why?
No, I didn't
Jackson
really put that
Hayes?
for a reason. It was just a notable
Is that a
draft pick.
strong blocker
they
behind Kincaid and
they
Knox?
have Kincaid and Knox. Maybe just another guy to add as a third blocker, but no, I think it's going to be more. I mean, if we could talk, I don't mind talking about it now. Like I think in terms of the tight end position for the Bills, it was a disappointing year for Kincaid. It's been a disappointing career so far for Kincaid. I believe he was drafted in the first 2 rounds.
First round.
The first year he was drafted, I think a lot of people thought this guy was, destined to being a tight end one. And is it the type of offense now that the Bills run, where it's a death by 1,000 cuts? It's going to spread the ball to as many different receivers as possible. You would think last year would have been the year that, with Diggs gone, that would be the year that he would break out. And again, I don't know if that's how Joe Brady is scheming it that way, or is he just not necessarily showing the route tree possible. But I think this is a big year for Kincaid, and Knox is still there as well. Kincaid's going as from a ranking standpoint, tight end 14. He's a guy, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather get someone like uh, the tight end in Tampa. What's his name again?
Otten,
Col-
Kate Otten,
Kate
Colton.
Austin.
Kate Otten.
Kate Otten, yeah, like someone like a Kate Otten who came on really well, even like a Zach Ertz. So I think it's interesting from a tight end perspective with the Bills, what's happening on that front.
Dalton Kincaid at tight end 14 for me is great value. If I can't get one of the top 5 or 6 guys that we've been talking about for a little bit, like that is, I wouldn't mind just holding off on tight end altogether and just sticking around and maybe get some lottery tickets like a Kincaid, like a Zach Ertz, who are going much, much, much later on, and could definitely give some interesting value there. I think we can all agree Josh Allen QB1, right? There's no question about it. He's the man. He's the GOAT. I read a stat, I think in the last 4 years, he's thrown past, he's thrown, rushed, and had the most receiving touchdowns, like total, for a quarterback, like
I think
cumulatively.
he's finished QB1 in 4 of the last 5 seasons too.
Yeah. Yeah. That his floor is super high, his ceiling is super high. So if you're looking for a quarterback, I mean, yeah, he's definitely going to be up there in boards. I don't think there's any even point to even have a conversation about it, to be honest with you. James Cook, though, I think this merits a little bit of a discussion. He's going I think last year he finished RB 13, and no, sorry, he finished. I think it was a top 10 last year.
He was top
This year
10
he's
with the
going,
16
yeah,
TDs.
yeah, and this year he's going as RB 16. Are we buying the hype on James Cook? Are those 16 touchdowns or 18 touchdowns legit? Is that going to be repetitive, or is that going to repeat, or is this more of a 1 year wonder type thing?
Very tough to repeat on an 18 touchdown season. I don't think many people have done that back to back. If memory serves me right, very very hard to replicate, especially when you do have a Josh Allen, like we did mention, who vultures a lot of TDs near the goal line, inside the 5, even inside the 10. I still think he's going to have a pretty good year. I guess if that contract kind of gets done, I know that's still lingering and he still doesn't have his contract that he wants. So is a holdout coming? Who knows? We also know what that does to players who hold out, especially um, offensive side of the ball. You don't get the reps, you don't get all that work in training camp. You're kind of just doing it on the side. So he might that would force him to start really slow out the gate. I think it's still a viable option. Definitely top 20, like you said. It was it 16? You're saying so.
Right
I'm
now,
I'm
his
mo-
ADP is 16. Yeah,
yeah,
in
I'm more
PPR.
than happy with. He's definitely in the top 20 running backs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that running back offense. Like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson actually came on pretty well last year. And I think Raj, I don't know if you had this stat or not, but the amount of like 10-yard touchdowns that James Cook had last year, like he had to break big runs to get those touchdowns,
Because Nacc, yeah,
which
Nac's
is
team, I
not
think.
always sustainable, right? So that's going to be a concern for me. Wide receivers, though, Sosa, I want to get your 2 cents on this, right? Like, so you got Khalil Shakur, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, Joshua Palmer, Elijah Moore. That's a stacked wide receiver room right there. Like, it's
Shakur,
are
Stacked
we
in what way?
well stacked is
Shakur,
like those are
A lot of mediocre
quality wide
guys there, I
receivers.
think.
we're good.
Those
But
are
if you're not taking Shakur,
yeah.
he's, and I think that's, honestly, I think out of the one that does sound a little is Josh Palmer. I'm not gonna lie to you. Kind of sounds interesting,
Yes.
Allen
Yeah,
and
man.
Josh Palmer. I like that. But uh Shakur is Josh Allen's man right now. He's a good player. He's solid. He puts up really good numbers. The only thing I have a little issue with is that last year, James Cook had a lot of multiple, like he had games with multiple touchdowns. But then at the end of the year, he kind of like, It was using a lot of Ty Johnson. They was using Ray Davis. But then this is a bad thing also about the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are going to be like the Chiefs. They don't care about points anymore. They just want to win the game.
Yeah.
They're going to win the game. So I don't know if you really want to take these type of guys on these type of teams because they might not be ranking up points. Once they're up by maybe 14-7, they're running the shit out of the ball or they're going to kill the clock and, everything's going to go down to the wire. They'll probably win by a field goal. That's the most it's going to go by. I don't think really the Bills this year, they're going to rack up the wins. They'll probably get 13 or 12. The majority of those wins are going to be just, hey, that's it. You know what I mean? Once they lock
That
it down, they're going to lock it down.
that's a really good point because, and I know it's a bit stupid for me to say this, but if like Josh Allen is fantastic, but if you remove his rushing touchdowns, he's kind of on a Patrick Mahomes type of arc in terms of from like a fantasy perspective, from a being an elite offense perspective. And I say that in terms of like if you think of Patrick Mahomes back in 2020, 2021, where the 50 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards, you're kind of seeing the same thing with Josh Allen, where they're not throwing the ball downfield anymore. They're taking what the defense is giving them. They're not force feeding any one receiver with big shot plays. Khalil Shakir was, I believe, the leading receiver, and he had 821 yards and
Yeah.
76 catches and 4 touchdowns. That is WR37 quality, and he's a like so to say he's a good player, and I think that's what you're gonna get out of the Bills wide receiving core. And again, they're heavily reliant on the running game. They're heavily reliant on Josh Allen's legs and running the ball. And to Sosa's point, I think that's what they care about. It's championship or bust now. It's not trying to fill the stat sheet or bust.
I love Shakur. Sorry. I love Shakur, but out of all these guys, I think this year might, and then you guys, probably everybody's gonna agree. Ray Davis,
Yeah.
you saw him at the end. He was really balling out, and if you look at him, he's a baby Henry, and you're gonna give him more time now. And look, if they're up by 2 touchdowns, you'd be surprised you see Cook in the game anymore.
Yeah,
That's
I
what they
agree
did
with that.
last week.
Yeah, I see
I,
that.
He
I, I
already
agree with
played.
that.
He wants to get more money, but if you look at it, they don't want to give him more money because they're already in that system. They only need you for a few things, and after that, they already got guys backing him up. I like Ray Davis a lot. I think he might even get like 8, 9 touchdowns this year.
Yeah. I like that
Could
call a
see it.
lot actually because you saw it last year. Even when James Cook was playing well, like they were manufacturing carries for Ray Davis, and he's good. Like they do very different things. Like Davis is a much more of a bruiser than James Cook is
Yes.
more of that finesse back. But that's a great call, so I like that a lot actually. I think you can see a lot more Ray Davis this year in this offense.
Just quickly back to the wide receivers. Elijah Moore is interesting. And like I feel they have I've always been a big fan of him. The thing is they have a lot of the same types of wide receivers, those like 5'10, 5'11 wide receivers that play a lot in the slot. That's Elijah Moore, that's Curtis Samuel. I thought Curtis Samuel, if you guys remember, I thought he was gonna have a
Dude,
big
you
year
were
last year.
super high on
I
him
was
last
super
year.
high
Yeah,
on
you
Curtis
were.
Samuel.
You were.
More so though, like I don't know what you guys think about Keon Coleman. Like they picked him, I believe it was the first pick of the second round. He had some nice plays here and there, but he didn't play a lot of snaps.
I
No,
think
but sorry, Nat, go ahead.
no. I'm looking back now. You said Elijah Moore. Like he played on some pretty bad offenses as well throughout his kind of tenure in the NFL. He played with the Browns, played with the Jets. Maybe it does click coming to a better suited offense for him because
He
it kind of does fit
yeah.
what he's all about, right?
He's
Like this type of offense.
he somehow had 61 receptions last year.
Really?
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. I know.
He
I
had a
know.
few
that's
good
very
games with
surprising.
I
Cleveland
like
last
him a
year.
lot. I think he's a good player.
That's what you look at the names, right? And even Josh Palmer, like these are established players in the NFL, and they're playing on a good offense. But I think so. I don't know. I think it was Roger. You said it right. I mean, if the way that the Bills play going forward is not going to be necessarily fantasy friendly in the sense that they're going to take what the defense gives them, continue to chuck the ball up a little bit here now and then. But if you're not going to see Josh Allen take those deep shots, it's going to be very hard to trust any of these wide receivers on a weekly basis, even Khalil Shakir. Like he's a wide receiver 3 right now, and he's a low end wide receiver 3. Like so, him being in your starting lineup every single week, it's It's going to be matchup dependent. It's going to be, do I
He's
like
a
this right now? Or is he
PPR
my
though.
best option?
PPR, he's very good. He gets those receptions.
I
Finish
give
wide
it
receiver
the first
36.
3 weeks. Don't get fooled after the first 3 weeks. They're probably gonna, they're gonna adjust all the shit out of the ball. But after that, you're gonna see a slow game from them. They're gonna start dragging these games, and after that, you're gonna think twice. You know what I mean? I like Elijah Moore. I honestly do, but it varies, like you said, depending on what type of league you're in right now. But he's sneaky, very, very sneaky. And him and Palmer. But this is where also I want to throw this out there. Those are stacks. Those are good things to stack too, just to have on your roster. Like if you do have a Josh Allen and Elijah Moore, I'll stack him. Or Josh Palmer, I'm stacking them on my fantasy team. Of course. Great. That's great value
Yeah.
right there.
For deep leagues, I feel
Yeah.
I could just imagine like when would you start those guys like buys in deep leagues? Those will
Playoffs.
be they'll
Oh,
be yeah,
they'd be tough
Those are like
starts, that's for
week
sure.
nines, week tens. You're
yeah.
gonna see like
Yeah.
the whole 4 or 5 weeks. You're like, they're going off, and you're gonna see, and it's the schemes. The schemes, they can't put the same thing out there every week. They're gonna switch it up. Watch a lot of other guys. I'm pretty sure Mark Harlins might have a few two
Yeah,
games
Mike
this year.
Collins.
You're gonna be like, oh my god, so it
Plays
depends.
for the
But
Patriots
I
though.
like oh yeah, you're gonna go off on the Patriots. I think those two, the Palmer and Moore, I like that a lot.
Yeah. I don't disagree. And I think we can all agree too that, I mean, this is it's the Bills division. Like it's theirs to lose. It's going to be another 13 win, 14 win season. So I guess if you're, Josh Allen's the way to go, and then we got some other great stars or other great players you can get off the Bills, but it's definitely going to be one of those teams to watch like usual. And we're going to be probably looking at them play meaningful football well into the very cold months of the year, like always. Now we're gonna get it on to we're gonna jump on to the New York Jets. Um, Big transition year for the Jets, which I think was very, very needed. So last year they ranked 16th with 218 and a half yards per game for passing, rushing 31st, which when I saw this, I was very surprised considering the running back room that they have.
Well,
Just
what
under
you said, the
92 yards a
passing,
game. Passing was 220 yards per game, ranked 16th.
that wasn't bad. Yeah, I was
No, it
surprised.
wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Rushing was a little bit more difficult. So but that's probably going to change this year, right? So the big coaching changes, right? Head coach Aaron Glenn came from Detroit. Offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand, also from Detroit. Crazy draft. They drafted Amon Membu, offensive tackle out of Missouri, with their 7th overall pick. They drafted Mason Taylor, great tight end out of LSU, with their 42nd overall pick. And also Arian Smith, wide receiver out of Georgia, which is a great vertical threat addition. So we're going to run through, obviously, the usual players. Big quarterback change. We got Justin Fields, former Steeler, former Chicago Bear, now playing for the Gang Green. Right now, his ADP is about quarterback 10. We know what Justin Fields can do. We've seen him put up those massive, massive, massive games where he rushes for 2 touchdowns and he throws for 2 touchdowns and he gets you those 30 burgers and those 40 burgers. And he's going to probably play the full season, barring any injury. But we can say that about anybody, right? I think the leash was a little bit short with the Steelers last year. It was kind of understood that it was Russell Wilson's team, and he was just sort of keeping the seat warm until Russ came back from injury. But now he's going to have a full 16 games. You would assume that the coaching staff is behind him. They wanted Justin Fields, I guess. How are we feeling about him from a quarterback standpoint? How are we feeling about him at quarterback 10? Raj, I want to start off with you.
I felt Fields last year didn't play loose. He didn't let go of the ball in deep opportunities. He didn't run as much as you think he would run because, like you said, the leash was he had a tight leash, and I feel like he was afraid to make mistakes, knowing that in a Mike Tomlin coach team, any mistake you make is a likelihood that you would be out of the game. So I think to your point, you said it. This is his team, at least for the next 1 or 2 years. Tyrod Taylor is still the backup, I believe. So like, there's not someone on the bench who can really threaten his role aside from an injury. And I think with a Detroit Lions type team with Aaron Glenn, Taylor Eggstrad, they know how to run the ball. They see they saw and they knew how much running the ball was important to their success. And I think Justin Fields is going to be very focused on either throwing it deep or running the ball. I think they're going to focus on his strengths, which is not scanning the field, one read, two read, three read, throw the ball. That's not what he's good at. What he's good at is scheme a play that can go deep, one read, or he runs the ball. So I think he's going to, fantasy wise, I think he's going to have a really, really good season. I think that bodes really well for his ancillary pieces as well, like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall.
I think you said it perfectly. They're gonna make him be Justin Fields. They're not gonna try to put him into make him be whatever he's not. They'll let him be Justin Fields. When it's time to throw, you throw. When it's time to take off and run, you're going to run. And he's shown us, even with the Chicago Bears and that terrible record he had, he was still shining as a fantasy football QB. So top 10 is definitely something I'm gonna try to get on my team. Very, very, I think 10 is pretty solidly ranked actually as in terms of fantasy football. Now, are they going to have the greatest year? To be seen. I think there's more of a sternness now in the locker room, like you said, the new coaching
Yeah, well
change. I
said.
think the regime is going to change. Hopefully, it does change. It's been the lowly Jets for quite some time, and maybe this is what they need. They needed more, more like set rules, more structure, more stuff like. And I don't know. I until I see it, you never believe it. But things right now on paper look pretty good for the Jets.
Sosa, I want your unbiased opinion because you're a Jets fan.
James Field, Justin Fields for MVP. That's it. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh my God, you're really a
Way to
Jets
way,
And I
fan.
don't
way to
know if
keep it
I'll say Justin.
unbiased. Way to
Okay,
keep it
Justin.
unbiased.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I'm gonna say this one word. Let's go to pedigree. All right, I'm gonna say pedigree. Right, the Jets are a running team. That's the worst thing. Have you ever seen a running quarterback on the Jets? Never, never, nothing like this. And I think
Yeah,
that
Ray
nothing like this.
Lucas.
Luke had the arm though, but damn, that I don't know. Luke was just this is the young gun. This is the young kid, and I think this is what we need. If we're gonna put a player out there, doesn't care what, like you said, maybe if the play is not working, I'm running it. This is a guy, and I think with the coach that's been on the team already, know what the team is
Mm.
was built off with Bill Parcells and everybody. I would say pedigree. I think he's gonna have. Yeah, he might throw what? He might throw for 2,000 yards, but he's gonna have maybe 2,000 rushing yards, or
2,000 rushing
nah,
2,000
that's a lot.
rushing
Maybe
yards.
1,500. Maybe 1,500.
Even 1,500 is a lot.
But
It's
Maybe
his last full season as a QB, 2022, he was QB 10, and even
yeah,
in 2023, the last year with the Bears, he was QB 18, but 21 fantasy points per game.
yeah.
not bad.
So his floor is really good.
His
It's really
floor
good.
is nice,
Yes,
man.
yes,
You
Yeah,
he's
could put
his
always
up
floor is
been
very
there.
nice.
100 rushing yards every game. If you
Yeah,
think about it,
it's not impossible. It's not
it's
impossible.
not.
Well, he's not going to put up 100 every
It's not.
game,
It's
but
most likely not. It's not. There's a
come on.
zero. There's a non-zero chance that that happens.
Don't
But
draft no receivers. I'm sorry, Garrett Wilson, all those
Oh
guys.
no! I disagree with that.
yeah, dude, but
They're not
they
getting the
got
ball. Look
the
at
connection
Pickens in
from
the beginning of the
college.
year last year.
Sosa, 2020, that same year, 2023, DJ Moore had 1,300 yards. That was going to be my argument, which is Fields locks into one receiver and one tight end. That's it. Even if you look last year with Pickens, he got Pickens pretty decent, and then Fryermuth as well. With the Bears, he got DJ Moore 1,300 yards, Cole Kmet 700 yards. No one else was close to 500. He
He
locks
DJ
into one
struggled with
guy.
Pickens, though. He
DJ
struggled
Moore
with Pickens at the
is
beginning of the
not
year.
He did
Garrett
struggle with
Wilson.
Pickens,
You
but they're
know
different
that.
wide
I
receivers.
think we all could say that. Garrett Wilson's a great player. I like him. I know they used to play before, but Justin Fields last year with the receiving core he had, gotta look at that. That's the receiving core that you gotta base this off because they were really good. You can say Pickens is not bad, and bro, he wasn't even throwing it. Not even Fairmouth got the ball. It was disgusting at the end. Remember, this guy came in the game. What Russell threw for like 500 yards. On it's they're not. You're not gonna see that, and that's why I'd want to say that if you're gonna draft any of them, It's a gamble. It's a gamble. And do you really want to waste a Garrett Wilson pick? You know how high Garrett Wilson's up there, maybe in the rankings. You're looking at him maybe like five, maybe six. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I can't
No,
do that.
no, he's not that high. No, he's wide receiver
Seven.
17 right
Yeah.
now. Sorry, wide receiver 13. My bad. He's wide receiver 13. He's going right before T. Higgins and right
That's five or
after
six.
JSN.
That's like a 5 or 6 round.
Yeah, 5 or 6 round. Yeah.
I don't
I,
know.
I,
I just not. I
he's
can't
a
do it.
high end wide receiver too, and I do. I'm in the middle with this. It's tough because yeah, they went to Ohio State together. I understand the whole DJ Moore thing on that one year that Justin Fields had a good season. I get that. And Garrett Wilson, like he's not this. I can't compare him to George Pickens because they do different things. I feel like it. So that's why I
He's
am a
closer to
little more
DJ Moore than he
optimistic.
is to George Pickens, where
Yeah,
he can move a
that's
little bit.
perfect.
He could move a little bit after the catch, which is what
Yeah.
I think that's what helped
Yes.
Fields a lot from a statistical standpoint. There was a lot like that Washington game that Fields was like on fire, like I think 300 yards, and even more had like 230 yards. So I'm high on I'm still high on Garrett Wilson.
I like Garrett Wilson. I don't know how much I like him, and that's a
Mm.
problem. But I do like Justin Fields. But the one set of players on this team I have no idea how to rank and how to go about them are the running backs. Because I love Breece Hall. Breece Hall is a stud. And last year didn't do for me. And we all spoke super highly about him last year at the beginning during our rankings about how he can push to finish as RB1 overall because he was just putting together some great seasons with limited time and injury. And last year he finished as RB16. And now there's now like Braylon Allen exists. And there's also Isaiah Davis in there. And you look at how they were running the ball last year. Is that going to change? You would hope so, because maybe they bring a lot of the stuff that they had at Detroit over to the Jets. But Justin Fields is a running quarterback, like you said, Sosa. That's the first time they've had a running quarterback of this caliber. It's like, where are we picking Breece Hall? Is he a top 12 guy? Is he a top 15 guy? Is he a top 20 guy? I don't know. I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about Breece Hall. I don't know what you guys think. Nacc, I don't know what you think about Breece Hall. How you feeling about that?
I think this is like make or break season for him for sure. Definitely had a tough season, but the year prior we saw what he could do, and as you just alluded to, most of us had him easily in the top five, and if not pushing for that, WR, excuse me, running back one status at the end of the year. Um, I think the top 5 days are potentially gone. To be honest
Mhm.
with you, can he still crack, some top 10 numbers and be that RB1? Yes, I think he can. And look, Sosa just said it. I kept saying it. Like they're a running team, and they're going to run the ball. Glenn is coming from a Detroit team that ran the ball. They had a two-headed monster. So yes, to your point, they will probably be using both running backs, similar to what Detroit did. Um, so does that put down his value? Sure, he is the better running back. If we're being honest, he's the better running back of the two. I'm expecting him, excuse me, to have a bounce back season. How high am I willing to go to draft him? I'm not sure. It's still kind of a question mark for me.
I was cautious. They already said like in the beginning of the season, not even the beginning of before the draft. Once they say they're gonna trade you or they're talking trade talks, I'm cautious about that, and I don't like them. I think that's just mentality wise, towards the players. So I just think if they had a different quarterback, I'd be like, okay, maybe Brees Hall is gonna go off this year. But even at his best numbers, that's gonna be slashed in half. With Justin Fields and
Mm.
I think
Yeah,
with the other guy that we had, I forgot his name, but I
Braylon Allen.
Braylon Allen.
I think Brandon Allen too last year he was on a leash. You know what I mean? I felt like they wanted to let him go, but with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, and I think now with them being more free, I mean to kind of like they're just playing for just playing for anything right now. I think maybe Allen might get more time than than Brees this year, but I don't know about Brees. He's tough call. He's another Waddle.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to gauge with running backs. To be honest with you, a little bit harder than wide receivers, but I think right now the all the skill position players are a little bit hard to evaluate for the Jets. I feel like I do. Mason Taylor, though, as a very streamy sleeper tight end, could be interesting, but this is more like much of a deep sleeper. I think right now he's ranked as tight end 29, and that kind of makes sense. But it's one of those guys that you have to keep your eye on because it looks like he can fit a lot of the scheme tendencies for Justin Fields. And I don't think there's anybody else in that. There's what, Tyler Conklin. Like there's really nobody
No,
else on
not
that team.
even.
No,
Conklin's
there.
gone. They just have Jeremy Ruckert. He's starting. He's starting
So
week
there you go.
one.
So any starting tight end for me, obviously, moves the needle a little bit. So that could be interesting. But we're gonna see.
And look, it like they're bringing the Detroit coaching staff. We saw what Detroit did with Sam Laporta. I'm not saying he's Sam
Great,
Laporta
great comp.
week one, but he was highly regarded out of LSU, and the fact that they took him in round two with no other veterans, I think it speaks highly of Mason Taylor, Joy Taylor's nephew. We always need to remind the viewers of that.
The only thing
That
I'm
is
scared with
Joy.
Taylor is that you got Justin Fields. That's the only thing that scares me. This
Yeah.
LSU thing that's going on, I don't know what they're in the juice over there. They're producing some kids, but I'll be honest with you. If Mason Taylor comes on and he gets on that field, yes, he's gonna stay on the field. He could pass block. He plays his position pretty well, and
Yeah.
his dad was, he's been watching his dad, so he knows the situation. I think, he could take advantage. But the thing that scares me is that Fields played with Rucker in college.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
Oh,
know. No,
wow. Yeah, good,
didn't know
good.
that.
Very nice link right there. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Huh. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to watch. I think training camps are gonna be very telling to see who gets first team reps and all that and where things go. But for now, right now, it's I think we could probably pencil in the Jets for another 5 or 6 win season. Hopefully better. Hopefully better. Hopefully better. We're gonna see. Hopefully, but hey, man, 5 or 6 wins in this division. It's coming from a guy who had a 3-win team last year. Okay, I wish I had 5 or 6 wins. Jeez, what's it
Sosa,
feel like on the other side?
can you give us your best Fireman Ed impression?
Oh no, that dude's crazy. We don't. I see him. We keep it over there. I don't know what he's on, but that dude, that energy, he needs to pass it over. Cause I don't know, especially in the jet game, I don't know how he has the energy. But hey, I have all the power of the fireman ever. I don't even know him. I thought he retired too last time. I'm like, I saw him in the field. I'm like, yo, what is he doing here? I don't know, but JETS, Jets, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jets, very nice. Yeah, we got some Jets fans amongst our group of friends, and yeah, you're diehard. You're a diehard Jets fan. Like, and there's been a lot of tough times, so we
Don't
get it.
worry. Don't forget the pass. Gotta. Oh, hopefully, that's why I like the Aaron Glenn situation. You know what I mean? He might
Yeah.
put back in that culture. Like we wasn't a bad team back in the day. We made playoffs. It was a great running team. We've had numerous guys, up there with 1,000 yards.
Hmm.
Just you gotta play that. This is that. That's how you win the game. You can't get that out the game anymore. So I think I mean, there's a lot of teams in that division that just they look good on paper. They look real good on paper, but it's tough though. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're probably chasing Buffalo, but after that, it's really open season.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. Actually, it's a perfect segue into the New England Patriots, who I think a lot of people assume are very good on paper, and I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree, but maybe they're not as good as everyone thinks they are. We're going to get into that right now, actually, because the Patriots actually finished with a 4-13 record last year. They ranked 31st in passing yards per game at 196, ranked 13 in rushing yards per game. They also went through some coaching changes. We got Mike Vrabel now, who's the new head coach. They'll have Old Faithful there, Josh McDaniels as their offensive coordinator. But a very, very interesting draft for them. One of the big ones that they got was a T-Rex there, Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. Franchise left tackle right now for Mr. Drake Maye. Pick Travion Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. And also Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State in the third round, who's been, I want to, let's say, tearing it up in camp right now. He's been getting a lot of buzz. I know it's they're not wearing any pads at the moment, but he's definitely looked like potentially to be the new target, the new favorite target for Drake Maye. Drake Maye right now, he's ranked as quarterback 13, I believe. Or sorry, I think that's how he finished last year. Drake Maye is ranked as quarterback 16 on an ADP level. Last year finished as quarterback 13. I don't know how I feel about Drake Maye, to be honest with you. Two quarterback, like from a one, if it's a one quarterback league, I don't know if I'm drafting him. two quarterback leagues. I'm concerned. I think the ceiling is sorry. I think the floor is very good. I'm concerned about the ceiling. I don't know how high it can get. I know that they added Stefon Diggs. We'll get into the wide receivers later, and the offense might be humming a little bit. I think quarterback 16 is a good spot for him from an ADP standpoint, like mid tier quarterback two. Roger, I know you think that he can go off this year. I don't know if you're still feeling the same way.
I feel very good about it. I owned him quite a bit last year in our 2QB league, and he saved my bacon many times. 421 rushing yards, sneaky good rushing season from him,
And he
and he
missed
even had
time.
a 95 rushing yard game on 8 carries, where his long was 26. So sneaky athletic too. And honestly, if you consider his surroundings, you consider the fact that he had Gerard Mayo as a coach last year, you can make a case that aside from Jaden Daniels, he performed as well as any other rookie QB. Again, stats wise, he doesn't have the stats as Daniels. He doesn't have the stats as Knicks, but factor in what he did: 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 66% completion, 2,300 yards. He was really, really solid in a really crappy situation last year. You add in Diggs, you add in McDaniels, you add in professionals in the coaching staff. I'm very, 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 very high on Drake Maye as a solid QB2 in 2QB Superflex.
I agree. I feel like I don't even need to add anything to that. That was all perfectly said. Because he missed quite a few games last year, right?
Well, they started with who did they start with? Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. But didn't he get hurt as well
He
though
got
at the
hurt
end of the
for like
year?
a game or two, yeah, because of concussion.
And then Milrow, I think, ended up playing. Not Milrow. Who was the guy?
Um,
Who's the one who got traded to Dallas?
Milton.
Milton. Milton played a game or two down the stretch too. So you're talking about 422 yards, and he played 12 games, I believe. That's pretty good. Add a few more games to that, and you're getting close to that 600-700 mark pretty easily for Drake May. And like you said, it was very sneakily done. It wasn't really. It was kind of under the radar. So I think like you said it right. You got McDaniel's back as the OC. Gerard Mayo was complete dumpster fire of a coach. That was I said it from day one. That was a complete
Disaster.
awful decision. I can't believe that's what succeeded Bill. That was kind of embarrassing. And coming from a guy who does not like the Patriots at all, but on paper, like you said, it looks pretty promising. We'll see if we'll see what Diggs can do coming back off an injury as well. And I know you mentioned also the Kyle Williams pick. I like a lot. He could
Yeah, I
come in
like
and
yeah.
potentially do some damage year one. So sneakily, like you said, with some good coaching, May in his second year, I think there's reason to be optimistic there in New England.
Yeah, I think the addition of Stefon Diggs is going to help Drake May a lot. I like Kyle Williams a lot too. Um, yeah. So what do you think about Stefon Diggs? What do you think about the passing offense in general for the Patriots for next year?
I'll give you the my second sleeper here, okay? On the house, all right? I just want to make sure I say his name correctly. F. Tom Chisholm III.
What?
Nobody even mentioned him. He's not even in the thing here. Yo, listen, Kyle Williams got hurt recently. I don't know if you heard. Like he was out a day on the OTAs, whatever they were. That kid was number one receiver on that field that day. I'm telling you right now, he's getting a lot of receptions in practice. I like him a lot. Kyle Williams is cool. He has his ups and downs, but I think this is the kid that you have to really check out.
Ah, another Julian
Sleep.
Edelman. Another
Efton
Julian
Chisholm the third.
Edelman.
He's another Julian Edelman. 100%. I had to Google it. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, he fits the Patriots,
Hey,
Yeah.
he's
way of doing
5'10".
things.
Don't let the 5'10" fool you. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, very, very, very sneaky. College is different now. There's good kids going on bad, low, mid-major schools now. It's not like the way it was before. So it's like you're gonna see a lot of good kids get overlooked, and they might be on like Toledo or Eastern Washington or maybe some other place. But I'm gonna tell you this right now. I like this kid. You look at his and his fantasy stats in college are crazy. You could look at them; they're bananas, and nobody's even talking about that. I don't even know if he got drafted. I think he was
No,
signed
he
because
was
I was looking
undrafted.
at the draft at their picks. But he's a really good guy to look at. He's on every fantasy team I get this year. I'm not even a Patriots fan, but I like this
Wow.
kid a lot. Patriots look good
Wow.
on paper though, you know what I mean? As for everybody else, I like Stefon Diggs, but as Stefon Diggs, he's in declining. He's not really had a good season and he complains too much. The running game, I think that's where look at your coach. You know, he made Derrick Henry. He gonna run his ball. And
That's
Drake
true.
Maye don't care, run the ball. You know, and Drake Maye was good last year, but he threw a lot of interceptions, which makes me a little bit suspicious. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you
Rookie.
know,
He was a
Burke
rookie.
don't play that. You know what I mean? He'll take you out, and he's a veteran quarterback type of guy, so it's kind of really interesting to see how he adapts with a young kid now. You know what I mean? I'm not to say that Maye's bad, but it's you know how these coaches are too. If you're not, you know, you're on a running coach system and you're throwing it, you know, it's kind of be 50-50 this year. So if May plays the system, and I see him having an okay year.
That's a good point, actually, because I don't recall McDaniel's really being with. I mean, he was with Tom Brady for so long, and he that is a system offense where there's not enough room for out of
A
the
lot.
blue type play. So that's a good point.
You know how we were just talking about the Bills, you know, that how they're gonna play that game. If there's any team in that division that's kind of they're not Super Bowl contenders, but gonna play the Super Bowl contender game, is New England. They don't care. They're gonna win off the field goal. They don't care about this
Yeah.
quarterback having 350 passing yards. Nothing about that. Might be some ugly games the whole year. And like I said, it might be some guys that you don't know out of nowhere. Yeah, they might get those pops. But Trayvon Henderson, it's the only guy, if you're not backing him up,
Mm, yeah.
I kind of like, I don't look at anybody else on that team.
Yeah, I like Trayvon Henderson quite a bit this year, especially at his ADP right now. It's more in the 30s. I think there's going to
Stevenson
be a
still
lot of
there?
what's that?
Is Stevenson still there?
Yep, Ramondre's still there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a split backfield in the very beginning, but eventually Trayvon does take over,
No, for sure.
or at least has that more of a. Not, it doesn't have necessarily that bruiser role, so it could be a bit of a the 1-2 punch like you see a lot of teams having right now. But Efton Chisholm the third, not what I expected when I was
Wow.
googling him. Not gonna
Deepest of
lie.
cuts.
Yeah, 100%. And he had a crazy year though, for Eastern Washington. 120 receptions, 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. I like your point though, Sosa, what you said about like now, like a lot of good college kids are coming out of very unknown universities. I mean, Puka Nacua was a
Puka
perfect example of that.
Nuka. Who the, where you
Puka.
get that
Pukanuka.
guy? He
Yeah,
come
I'm
out
gonna
with
call him
this?
Puka. I'm gonna call him Pukanuka now.
Puka
I love
Nuka.
it.
No, that's what I
It's a
call
new.
him, but it's like,
I
yo,
love it.
he was seventh round.
Efton
There's
Chisholm.
just more guys that now are
This.
just like you got on every team. Like where the fuck did he
Mhm.
came from? The next thing you know, you're like, oh, he's not a top school. You know what I mean? So I think and I think Chisholm knows the system. He's a systematic player, so he fits right into this team right now. Kyle Williams is flashy. You know, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, he wants the ball, he's demanding it. He's probably expecting him to be off the back wide receiver too. So you know these divas when they come into the league. So I give a take. I like the kid Chisholm a lot, honestly, a lot, a lot.
Yeah,
Went to
definitely gonna be
Eastern
a name to
Washington.
watch.
Went to Eastern Washington. That's where Cooper Cup went as well.
Hey,
Yeah,
what a coincidence there.
what a coincidence, huh?
You know that
If
guy.
this guy hits, we're bringing Sosa back on like in the middle of the season, eh? Honestly, if this
Bro,
guy hits after like
listen,
the
listen,
third
listen.
game and he's
Chisholm.
going
I
off,
love
like I
that
swear to
name though
God,
too.
Go
Chisholm.
check that OTA there. I'm telling you, Kyle Williams, I think he had a head
Multiple
injury.
Chisholms.
So, and that kid went off. That kid went off. He was catching everything. All the coaches are there like, what the who is this kid? You know what I mean? And you know when you get that right there,
But
the
you
buzz
know
is
what?
on there. You know what I mean? And I think with May right now, he's trying to get accustomed with a certain guys, and I don't think he's gonna get accustomed. It's gonna take him time to get accustomed with Stefon Diggs, just because of the person he is. And I think this kid Chisholm might get the little targets, little drops here and there, safety plays. I like him a lot. I'm selling him. That's my next name. F and Chisholm.
What's the word out of New York about Cardi B and Diggs?
Tough. It's tough. You know. I don't know. Cardi B's a good person. They like that. They like over here. Stefon Diggs is tough. You know, when celebrities come to the hood, it's different though. You know, if you can't handle the hood, then you should never come here. And that's why I feel like Stefon Diggs. If you look at those boats on the boat, you know, that's nice scenery. Not Cardi B. This is different when you come over here. This is different. They ask you for $1. Are you ready for that? If you're not ready for that, I don't know what to tell you.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that. Wow.
Okay, well, maybe Stefon Diggs is going to help the New England Patriots
I don't know.
get a better record than they did last
Even if
year,
he's still there, I don't know. I
even
got
if he's still
sources
there.
right now. Be careful. Stephon Diggs is on a short leash right now. They're not like
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I feel
It's
like that
definitely not the
organization
Patriots
doesn't
way,
play with
that's
that
for
type of
sure.
stuff, man. Like Mike Vrabel does not deal with that type of
Yeah,
garbage often. Yeah,
100%.
I feel like he's barely on a
and
short
I don't
leash.
want you to. I don't want to throw this out there. I didn't feel like this before when I heard that. But you just gotta think about it too. NFL teams don't give a fuck. They let go of Russell Wilson on his contract. They don't care. If you got 90 million, 140 million, and they don't want you on that team anymore, you're off. They'll take you off fast. Your name comes off the locker room real quick. You can't even clock into the building. You know they do that quick. So he's on a short leash. I do know that.
Nice.
Absolutely, and I don't agree. I don't disagree with that at all. So I guess the guys to look for on the Patriots team is sort of the ones we've already assumed of. We got Drake Maye, Traven Williams, Kyle Williams, so some to look at as well, and Efton Chisholm the third. My goodness, I was not expecting that at all. We're going to be monitoring that for next year for sure. Well, this year coming up, but I do want to thank Sosa very much for coming on the pod,
Thank you. You guys are
sharing
amazing.
your knowledge. I'm going to take Efton Chisholm back with me. I can't believe that. Like it was very very great insights. Really
You can
appreciate
put
it a
my
lot,
name this
guys.
time. If I do come back, just put my name, F Chisholm. That's all I ask.
100%. We're
I
we're
gotta
you're
do it
not
on
going to
my
go
side.
under.
I'll do it on my side today.
Yeah,
I will.
it's going to be Efton Sosa.
I
That's
did
it.
it already.
That's all
If you
it's
look
going to
at
be.
one of my posts, I swear to God, I really spoke about that kid.
Check it
Yeah,
out.
you're 100% right, and I see it right now. So, dude, big ups to you because that was super impressive. And for all those who don't know, you gotta look up Sosa on TikTok, Fantasy Sports University. A lot of great videos, a lot of great stuff, fantasy content, both football, even some basketball stuff in there too. Like it's all kinds of stuff. Great visuals, man. Honestly, great episode, great
Yes.
stuff. Really appreciate you coming on the show. For all of our other listeners, guys, please listen, follow, subscribe. You find us on TikTok, you find us on YouTube, you find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. What am I missing? Instagram, Twitter, pretty much everywhere on your social medias.
Discord soon, Sosa?
Discord soon. You spoke, yeah. I gotta get on Discord, dude. Like you messed up my whole game. I was on Discord like the whole time before the episode. Right now, I
I
don't
play
even know
in
what I'm
Madden
doing.
leagues. I play in a lot of Madden leagues. So I'm sorry, but yo, listen, go try this Discord thing. And I'm gonna tell
Um,
you something too. Don't sleep on Madden. Madden has been my tool for a very long time. Go sim a few seasons. Go look at these guys. It's similar, brother. I'm telling you, you're gonna find the little
oh
traits.
man,
They all, it's all in the, it's all in the numbers. But that helps you out too. Sim a few seasons. You don't gotta play it, but you should rely on Madden. That's the Bible right now. I'm telling you.
this is a recipe for a disaster. Yeah, give me another reason to go buy a PS5 game. As if I needed more. Oh, great. Well, guys, um, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate y'all. This was a great episode, and keep dialed in because the next few weeks we're going to be doing previews on every single one of on every single one of the divisions up until the fantasy season. So keep it locked. You'll find us on all the social medias. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening. Peace out, everyone.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, Sosa.
Thank you, Sosa. Great job.
That was
Great
awesome.
job. Oh man.
That was great.
Oh, you just bounced.
Dip.